Hello everyone, Phil here, and for this video what we are going to do is just to continue our NextJs authentication tutorial. So let's go to our Prisma Studio, and here I'm going to zoom in this. For some reason I'm trying earlier to save changes from the UI, but it seems not allowing me. So as you have noticed, this is the user's table, user, and in our user, we have this field here, email verified. We can use this email verified to filter the user who are going to log in our system. Like if the email of that user is not yet verified, then don't allow that user to log in into the system until that email is verified. So let's do that. Here in our code, if we hover on the callback object property, we have this signIn callback available for us along with redirect, session, and GWT. Now let's use that signIn by typing here an async and signIn. There, establish the syntax. And we need to distract the user from whatever object being passed here in the signIn function. For now, let's see what will happen if we just return false here. And let's go to our login form. Ignore this for now. And let's type here test@example.com. It will not allow us to log in into the system. But if we change this to true and log in again, now it allows us to log in into the system again. What does this means is that here in the sign in function or method, I forgot the right term, a method or a function, but I think method is the right name for this. Since we are an object, we are dealing with objects. Here, you can see here controls whether the user is allowed to sign in or not. That's the function of that sign in. Returning true continues to sign in flow. Returning false or throwing an error will stop the sign in flow and direct the user to the error page. In our case, it did not up. We just received an error instead. Returning a string will redirect the user to the specified URL. So now that we know what's the use of this, we know that this is a user object, and I assume there is an email verified properties in this. So let's try it. F user that email then return false, else return true. Now let's sign out this one and let's log in again. Since this email is not yet verified, it should not allow us to log in into the system. And there you go. It prevented us from logging in into the system. Notice as well that there is another complaint here from TypeScript. Property email verified does not exist on type user or adapter user. We can fix that by going to our next auth.ts and by adding here interface user with this email verified of boolean type, and you can see the email verified here. The TypeScript is no longer complaining about the existence of this property. We can also use the user ID because we know that this user has property ID, then we can use this property ID to query on the database directly by doing this and assign it to a variable, and this existing user will be comes from the database. Then we can replace the user with existing user, and also we can check if not existing user, then return false. So this condition tells us that if there is a record of a user that trying to log in into the system, or if the user does exist and the email is verified, is not verified, then we return false. So let's try that again in the form. Let's log in that again, and there you go. It doesn't allow us to log in. And to make sure that this is really working, let's try changing that to true, and let's change this to false. Now log in, and there you go, it allows us to log in into the system, so it's working. Okay, let's change this back to true, and let's change this back to false. There is a complaint here that existing might be null. We can shift the position of this two here so that it will evaluate first the existing of user, and then next is if the user, if it does have an email verified properties. So now the issue is gone. Another issue that we have here is this, the argument type string and undefined. It means that this ID can either be undefined or a string. It's not assignable to parameter type string. If we take a pic of the get user by ID function here, we only allow ID to be string, and it happens that this user ID can be either undefined or a string. So to mitigate this complaint, we need to check before executing this line if it evaluates to true. Sorry, if the user ID evaluates to false, then we just have to return false. And by doing that, you see, we make sure that this user ID is a string, because if the ID is undefined, then it is returned here. And back here in the form, as expected, it will not allow us to log in into the system because this email is not verified. And that's it. Sign in exists because if we have some requirements in our systems, an additional layer concerning the security of how the user should log in into the system, then we can do that here in the sign in function. And that's it for this video. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next video.